Hi, I guess I'm live. I'm gonna wait a little while and see if everything is working fine. Glad to see everybody. I wanted to come on here and do something about basic gardening. And I always like to start at the beginning because that's the root of your gardening. So you want to definitely have a good foundation for your gardening. So I'm going to wait a little while because this was unannounced. And to see, let me straighten up here, if I get anybody that joins in. And if not, I'll just proceed with my video. So I hope that we can talk a little bit about the weather. At the end, we'll talk about that. And we can talk about that at the end. I'm in my craft room, so that's what you're seeing up here behind me. This is one of my favorite spots in the house that I like to be in. So I know a lot of people out there getting ready for Christmas. I know a lot of people out there doing that last minute shopping, wrapping presents, cooking, whatever you may be doing. So I know people are busy. So I just wanted to come on and do a live stream because I said I want to do one before the end of the year. I wanted to come on here and do one more live stream before the end of the year. So that's what I wanted to do. And I want to see if I do this with that. I'm trying to get some of that background I can wear anytime. It's just a winter sweater with snowflakes and different things on it. Yeah. So let's see if we get any people that YouTube sends a notification that I'm live and that they'll come on here, that they people that know me or people that just want to know about basic gardening information. That's what I want to talk about, and I want to talk about it specifically in a certain area that I think is important for people to start out with. And it's like your backbone, I feel. And so I think that that's important. And I want to start out with that. And I think that I'm going to start out here. I have some of these books that I've set aside here. And I'm going to start out with this one here. Last time I did, it's always got a glare on this book. Let's see. Yeah. It's a little bit better, but it goes, there you go. This book right here, last time I talked about the seed saving. And when I talked about the seed saving, I did not talk about cross-pollination. And I felt like I needed to come back and touch on that because, if you're a beginner gardener, you may not know about that. You might just think, I just saved my seeds and I'm going to get the same thing I had planted before. And so I just wanted to say in this book, Seed to Seed, let's turn it to the side a little bit. Maybe that'll take the glare off. Yeah, Seed to Seed. They have a section, they have everything in this book. So, but there's a section in there about pollination. They talk about air pollination. They talk about pollination by insects and stuff like that. And I just not trying to teach you because I think the best way to learn is to do it yourself. So I'm touching it and hoping that that's going to motivate you, that I touch on it and I say a few things about it, that you go ahead and research it for yourself and learn about it so that you can get the results of whatever you're trying to do. Okay. So I didn't mention that in the last one. So I wanted to mention that about cross pollination. Now, because of the cross pollination, a bee could do it. You have two plants that are in the same family next to one another. A bee could cross pollinate, and then you won't get the same plant that you did plant. So, that's important to know if you want to do that. It talked about, like, say, for instance, you think, well, I could take one plant and put it way over here in the garden and take the other plant and put it way over there in the garden, and that it's not going to get cross-pollinated. Well, it talks about saying that it can still get cross-pollinated because the insects, or if it's something that is in the air or whatever, they can still do it. And also, it could be that you only have one of those plants in your garden. So well, it's not going to get cross-pollinated because I don't have another one. But it says if somebody in your neighborhood around you has that, and then they go over there, then they come back over on you, you could get cross-pollinated. Okay, so it talked about isolating that plant, like putting something over it, protecting it, and then pollinating it, self-pollinating it yourself. So I thought that was important for me to touch on that, because I talked about the seed saving and I talked about all that in the last live that I did, but I didn't touch on that. So hi y'all, hi. Let me see if I got this set right. Let me just make sure that let's hold on a second, guys. Just trying to make sure that my chat's not, maybe nobody's saying anything, but I just didn't know that. Somebody come on and say hi, say something, so I know that this chat is working, that you can hear me, that you can see me good, okay? So, and if I don't see that, okay. Lynette Lawrence, hello, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, if you did not see that last video that I did, it was a live. You can go back in there and you can catch up on, just go to my playlist, go to the lives, you'll find it in there, and look at the one about seed saving, if you didn't see that. So, because I'm not going into all that now, but I'm just touching on part that I didn't put in there, and that's the cross-pollination. And so you would have to isolate that plant, whether you cover it with something, whether you put some type of where the insect anything couldn't get in there on it, and then you pollinate it yourself. And then it gives you in here, it talks about things that are pollinated by insects in the air, like corn and stuff like that. So I just wanted to touch on that because I didn't mention that last time. And I had thought, oh, you didn't talk about that. And this is for beginners and they may not know anything about that. So that's why I wanted to come on here and mention it in here, although that's not what this whole live is about. So this is a book that I had said, you don't have to get this particular book, but I think you need to have an arsenal of books. Prep for your garden. We're prepping for everything else. Prep for your garden. Prep that you may need a reference book. Something may happen and you don't have that information that you need and can't get it from the way you've been getting it. And so if you have books, they're going to be around. Then you can go and you can look in that book. So this is one that I had said, get you some type of book on seed saving in my last video. So this is the one that I have, but you can get any one you want to get. And you don't have to buy the book. You can go to the library. You got a library card, go there and check it out. get the information out of it that you need. If you decide, oh, I like this book, I want to buy this one, then you can go ahead and check it, buy the book. Okay, so this is one, and that touched on what I wanted to talk about with, that I had not put in the last one. Okay, so this is one book that I'm getting a lot of information out of it. So I'm going to put that one over here. Now, I wanted to talk in here about books that you need to have books. Prep for your garden. Okay. So a lot of people may not think about a book because they think, oh, I can go get it over here. I can go get it over there, the information. But what if you can't? What if you can't? So that's what I'm talking about, having you some type of book or something that you can fall back on. Okay, so now I've been gardening for many years. This here, is an old book, but I tell you what, it's still relevant. Now, this book here is my very first gardening book that I ever bought that started me out on gardening. And how I started out gardening was a neighbor came over, brought some seeds, and said, here's some seeds. And she saw we had this spot that nothing was in it. And she said, oh, you can plant them right there. And so I went over there and planted them. And they did well. And that's how I started gardening. Then I wanted to learn more. So then I had got a book. Well, back then, because I'm a great grandmother, back then there was no internet and all that stuff. Oh, let's see. Lynette, we need to prep for the garden. Thanks for prepping information. We need a seed saving book. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have me one, and I decided to buy the book. But if I really wanted to try out something, I could just get it from the library, check it out, and see, okay, I like this book, I'm going to buy this one. So that's one way you can think of doing it. Now, here, this is an old book. And now they had this show on gardening. But see, this is Crockett's Victory Garden. But see, they just calling it the Victory Garden now because he died. But I loved it. He had that show. He had a show, which is on PBS now. I believe it's still on PBS. I know it's still on, but I'm not sure, with cable and all that, where it's at. But they still have that. And so I love this book because it's got every single thing in here. It starts you out from the basics of gardening. I mean, you got tools in here, what tools to get. It talks about certain plants. It gives you pictures and stuff like that. And this is a picture of him in the garden. Let's see, with some vegetables that he got in the garden. And then, my very first compost pile thing that I had somebody build for me. And it came, the plans from this book. And it worked out very well for me for many years. And then, different types of tools. You don't know what a tool is. Let me see if you can see that. Okay, I think that's a little better. If you don't know what a tool is used for, those tools don't save. That doesn't change. So this book is still relevant. So to me, it's an excellent book for me to have in my prep, and I never got rid of it. I kept it, and I still go in here from time to time and just sit down and read stuff. Talks about bulbs and whatnot. A lot of stuff I've grown so much, I may know a lot of things, but then there's some things that you don't know, So for a beginner, get yourself a good basic gardening book that you can fall back on. Prep for your garden. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. So the book, I keep that one. So I have that. And then here's another one, another older book. And this one's called The Joy of Gardening. And this was another book that I bought. And I'm telling you, I built a big, huge garden using these reference books and finding out how to do this when I knew nothing about gardening. Nothing. I just took them seeds, put them in the ground over there that lady gave me. And then all of a sudden, boom, it grew. And then I was like hooked. And if this necklace is bothering you, just let me know. I can put it under my sweater because I know it's flashing. So if it's bothering anybody, let me know. I'll tuck it in my sweater. Okay. So, but this one here is the same thing. It's a basic gardening book that covers everything. Let me see. Corey K. Happy holidays. Yes, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And happy holidays to whatever holiday you celebrate. Absolutely. And so I'm a big time Christmas person, but I appreciate everybody and respect whatever you celebrate. Okay. So, yes. And it's a happy time of year for me. And I think that this is off track a little bit, but since we said happy holidays, I'm going to touch on that. But I used to be a person that at Christmas time got depressed. I would get very depressed, and I wasn't alone. I had a family, kids, house full of people, but I would get depressed at Christmas time. But then I was just like, oh, I got to get away from this. I'm a Christmas person. I said, all right, wonderful. But I just prayed about it. And I said, God, please, I want to lift this off of me. And all of a sudden, I'm like the biggest Christmas person you would ever see. Well, to me, that you will ever see. It's probably bigger people that, got more money and can do more things, but you get my drift. I do the outside of the house. I do the inside of the house. I put on videos on my other channels, home tours, everything. I just love Christmas. So I'm a Christmas person. So anyway, this book, to get back on track, it's another all-purpose book. And I mean, he has everything in here. He was back when they used to call it square foot gardening. And nowadays, I don't know what they call it, where you put up a certain block and you plant so many plants in that and all that. But this guy here, Dick Raymond, was one of the people way back before people was ever doing this. Because when I was doing this in my garden, people were not doing that in their garden. But now people are doing it. But I'm just saying, I did that way back. But because of what I learned in this book and how to do it and the examples that he gave you and he showed you. And he didn't just, I don't know if you can see that. He didn't just do, people wasn't doing pot gardens like that. Every once in a while, somebody grew something in a pot, but it wasn't, like pot gardens and all that. And it was just so many interesting things. And this here covers from A to Z of everything. And this is another good reference book to have. I'm looking at peanuts and shallots and the green family and education, and then rototilling your garden. I mean, everything, telling you about how to put in green manures, what to plant. I mean, I planted, I still do this. I put buckwheat. I plant buckwheat in my one area that I have, because I have a container garden. One area that I have that's in the ground, and I put buckwheat in there, and I put that in. I learned that in these books about green manures and what they do and how they help your garden and all that. So this is good to have in your arsenal. I'm not saying any particular book, but I'm saying get you a good basic gardening book. Oh, okay. I don't know how to say that. Is it J? Hi, everyone. Happy holidays. Absolutely. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Whatever you celebrate. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I got this one. And this is another one that I have that I fall back on. I'm telling you. And These aren't my only books, but these are the only ones that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to bore y'all talking about every book I have. Yes, ma'am. All right. Jay. Okay. Got it. Good to see you. Now, this is one I just bought. Let me see if I can get that over here. This is my latest book. And this one is called The Modern Herbal Dispensary. Because one of the things that I want to do that I don't know too much about, I have increased how many herbs that I'm growing in my garden. But I grew them last year and I made tea with them and everything. But I didn't really know beyond that, what can I do with these? What do they do for you too much? So this book, I got this and I started reading it and I said to myself, I like this book. I was sitting there and at first I didn't want to put it down. I had some stuff that I had to get up and do and I didn't really want to put the book down. So I wanted to keep reading it. So I'm going to read y'all just one little common thing in here that I know that we all probably know about. And that's about the dandelion. And it says that this is a common lawn and garden weed, and it has a beneficial effect on the digestive system, the urinary system, and the pancreas. And I never knew this. The root is primarily used, and I'm gonna do a disclaimer right here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm sharing what I'm going to be doing, and then you do your videos that you want to do. So, but it says that the root is primarily used to stimulate bowel flow and aid the liver, whereas the leaf is more often employed as a diuretic to aid kidney function. It acts on the microflora of the gut and helps stimulate digestive secretions. Dandelion leaf is often combined in equal parts with nettle leaf as a potassium-sparing diuretic. Dandelion's flowers, wine makes a nice digestive tonic. And then I look at the part that they have some bolded stuff down here. I always look at the warning part, and it says no known warnings on that. Because some of the things in here, they'll tell you there's maybe a warning of some kind, and they'll tell you about it in here, which I like that very much. So, but my point is this. Okay, say for instance, a lot of people thinking, oh, I don't really need that. I get my stuff at the doctor. I go to the drugstore. They give me a prescription, whatever. What if you can't get that stuff? Educate yourself on the things that you can grow in your garden. Or this here, you don't have to do anything. I got plenty of them in my yard. I do the weed tea. I do my free weed tea. I did a video on that. You can check it out in my playlist if you want to. But hey, I was using it for that. But now I know about all this. I knew people ate dandelion greens, but I didn't know all the health benefits of it. So this here, I like that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know all that. So that's a something that I noticed in this book. And I saw something else in here I wanted to highlight. Oh, garlic. We all grow garlic, don't we? Okay. Now, maybe some people knew this stuff. I've heard certain things about it, but I didn't know everything about it. So let me see. Did I miss anything? Okay. Okay, it says garlic. Garlic is a strong aromatic herb that acts as an expectorant to expel phlegm from the lungs. And that's like when you get congested and you cough and you have that stuff in there, you can see it says, and a circulatory tonic to the to lower your high blood pressure. Now, I had heard of that before. I knew people that did do that. And this is, another reference that's showing me. And then in this book, they go back and they reference in here right up under this stuff. They tell you where they got this information. So it ain't just somebody up here saying, oh, just do this, do that. No, they're referencing it where they got it. But I think that's very good too. And it says, so it does it with the lowering the blood pressure. And it says it combines well with other herbs for treating certain bacterial and fungal infections. And then that's period. For hypertension, it must be taken daily for at least 3 to 6 months to see the full results. And that's the period. The fresh bulb has the best anti-hypertensive and antimicrobial properties. And then I told you I like to look at the little warning section where they warn you about if there's anything to be known about it. And right here it says it's not for feeble, I don't know how to say it. I always mess that word up. Let me see how. I know what this, I'm going to spell it. EMACIATED. Or wasting conditions. Okay. And that's a period over there. And then it says gastric irritation is possible. Take with or after meals to lessen the effect. So it's telling you what it'll do, but it's also putting warnings in there. If you have these situations, that this is not recommended for you to be doing this. So I like that, the fact that it's giving you that. And then under here, it tells you where they got this information from. So I like that. And I think if you're interested in growing more herbs, and I know I grew herbs, I grew a lot more herbs. And emaciated, there you go. I was trying to get that out. I couldn't get it. And something else kept popping in my head. And I said, no, that ain't it. Yes, emaciated. That's like, somebody, you got some conditions going on there, which you losing weight. You got some problems going on there. And emaciated. Yes. Wasting away. Absolutely. And I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse too, but I still have a problem with that word. But I'm not doing this as I'm doing this. I've done I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending. I'm not telling people what to do. I am putting this out there to you to do your own research and think about, do you want to have something like this in your arsenal, prepping for the day that you may not be able to get these things? Because what I plan on doing is I grew some herbs and I dried them already. And I have some herbs in my arsenal. Oh, you just ordered the book? Oh, okay, Corey K. And look at Jay. Okay. All right. And then Lynette Lawrence. Yes, garlic is known to help lower the blood pressure. Yes, that was something that I knew about, but I did not know the other stuff, And let's see. Hey, Gromit Hudson. Hi, welcome. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to anybody that celebrates it. Yeah, so I grew garlic and I grew other things, but now I'm getting more into, I need to have these things available to me. I have the means to freeze. I have the means to dehydrate, I can can things, and I need to have things ready in my prepping things in my garden, growing these things so that I can be prepared for the day. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I went to get some medicine, that prescription. Went to the pharmacy, and they told me they didn't have it. I was like, what? And then I said, well, wow. I was shocked. And because I was just like, I can't believe you don't have it. And then I had just seen something. It was on a news story. Right after that happened to me, there was a lady, and she was on there talking about her child needed a certain antibiotic or needed something, and that the people didn't have it. And then she said, well, she said, well, I'll go somewhere else. And they said, nobody has it. So, hey, we don't know. All I'm saying is I'm prepping just in case. They have things in here for pain. They got stuff in here that they're talking about. And then when I first started looking at it, I said, they got that on there. I wonder how can I, because it's not about telling you about growing it. It's more telling you like going to a health food store or a place or something like that. That's the feeling I'm getting. I'm not finished with it yet. But that, and I thought, well, I want to grow it. And so then I went and I looked up something. I saw something on there was for pain, I think, because I got a back injury. And I looked on there, and then I went and I Googled that thing to see, can I get seeds for this? I found seeds for it. So I said, oh, okay. So I can grow this stuff. So I'm telling you, I'm not, on here promoting a book. I'm on here promoting prep for the things that you can grow in your garden, that you can dry and preserve or whatever, so that you can have this stuff as a backup. And also it's a natural thing that I'm going to be using. I'm not telling anybody else to do it. I'm just saying I'm going to do it, and I'm prepping for it. So I'm getting more into it, educating myself on it. Now, let me see what I'm missing over here. Okay, people saying hi to one another. That's wonderful. Okay, Corey K. Fermentation is excellent to learn. Okay, I've been looking. I just didn't buy the stuff yet because, for those crocks and different things, I believe that's the fermentation, the right thing I'm thinking of. I'm not as sharp at night, y'all. So, but I didn't. You have to buy those things. I have to invest in getting the stuff that I can make that stuff in, because one thing I was noticing was sauerkraut. And I was thinking cabbage, cabbage is pretty cheap, even if you buy it or you grow it or whatever. It's not that hard to grow cabbage. At least I don't think so. I grew it. But that you can make that, and how good that is for your gut and your body. And I was like, I don't like sauerkraut too much. But I was thinking, this seemed like something good. Plus, I heard homemade doesn't taste anything like that stuff you get in a jar or a can. So you're right about that fermentation. Absolutely. So that's something that I would love to get in. Y'all, if I'm missing y'all, let me see if I missed anything or missed saying hi to somebody. Growing out the box. Hello, welcome. Okay, so I see some stuff on here. Gotta go. Hudson, you still in here? There's some this right here. This right here. Okay, we're going to get that out of there. And let's see what else. Take this one out. Yeah, trolls. Yeah, Hudson. I think I got that out. I guess I must be I'm a small little channel. I don't know why they showing up now. I guess they bored. Okay, gardening with Lisa. Hi, welcome. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. If you celebrate it. I'm just looking to see what I miss, y'all. If I miss saying hi, I say hi to growing out the box. Okay, I think I got everybody. Let's see. Let's go up here. Let's go down and see. Okay, I think I got to the last one. Oh, they gone? It's gone. Okay, growing out the box. Everything I grow, I look up the medicinal uses. Good for you. Good for you. Because you know what? I hadn't done that. I knew about certain things. And last year I made a point because the year before last, I said I'm going to grow more herbs. I did grow them and I did make teas and stuff and I used them, but I did not look up all the uses for them, which I should have. But I was so busy with my with my harvest because I was blessed so much that I was just keeping up. I'll put it to you like that. And so, but this time of year, when I have time, that's why I'm looking and getting ready and planning. Because when I go to get some seeds for something, I'm going to get stuff and I'm going to know what that thing does. And if I grow some of the stuff like I grew last year, what was the one I grew? The one that relaxes you. It starts with a C. My mind goes after a certain time, y'all. Can't think of what it is. It helps you sleep and stuff like that. Well, anyway, I grew that one and I used that a lot and I loved it. And I was reading in this book all the other things chamomile. Yes, chamomile. That's it, chamomile. I was reading in here, they got a whole section on chamomile and it's other stuff. Like, let me see here. Chamomile. Okay, they got two different kinds of it. I'm gonna go to the plain basic one. See if I can find that again. I was looking at it earlier. Okay. Chamomile. We all know this part. Chamomile is a mild sedative and it's good gastric anti-inflammatory. It calms the nerves, settles the stomach, and it helps to expel gas. This is an excellent nervine agent, especially for children. Use it homeopathically or make it into a tea and sweeten for colic, hyperactivity, teething, fussiness, fever, irritability, or infants for in infants and children. And I'm just going to read the warning down here because I always like to read that warning part. There's more information here, but you can research that. And the warning is allergic reaction to chamomile are not common, but are more common than with many other herbs. So that's something to keep in mind when you're taking these things, especially if someone was giving that to a child or something like that. People got to make sure they know what they're doing. That's why I say disclaimer, warning. I'm not telling you to do anything. You need to research on your own and decide what you want to do. So I started growing that chamomile last year. And I said to myself, oh, I didn't grow enough of this. I loved it. And I'm telling you, at nighttime, if you made a little tea with it or whatever, that's all I did with it at that time. But that's why I have this book, so that I can research. And I'm going to, get more information from other places. But this was my starting point, so that I can know when I grow these herbs, what to use it for and whatnot. And I tested that. And I had no effect. I had no allergic reaction to it at all. So I loved it so much. I said, you know what? I'm going to grow this again. And I'm going to grow more of this. And, so that I can actually, I tried a little bit of it, but I didn't have enough like what I really want. So I'll be growing more of that, a lot more of it. And when I grew my seedlings, that thing just took off. And when I put it in to grow it, I was like, what is this that's coming up so good like that? And then I looked at my little label. I said, oh, that's the chamomile. Look how that's doing. So it was easy to start with seeds for me. So now let me see what I'm missing here. Yeah, she told me the chamomile. I'm glad you helped me out on that because my mind was going blank on it. Hello, Elwanda. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Okay, Corey K. Trying to get B12 supplements through food. It's an amazing nutrient to learn about. Oh, yes. The B vitamins, yes. Let's see what else. Okay, so growing out of the box, I hated radishes, haven't used an inhaler in over a year after juicing radish, ginger, lemon, and mayukusa honey. It has a kick, but it opens the sinuses right away. All right. You hear that, y'all? This is somebody that used it. And I love radishes. So that's good to know. I'll have to check that in my book too. Get more information on it. Okay, Jay, you love chamomile? Okay. Yeah, I do now. That was my first experience with it. Okay, I hope I said hi to everybody. Let's see. Annie's Kitchen and Urban Homestead. Welcome. Thank you for coming by and dropping into our chat. Says good. She said, good morning, all, and Merry Christmas from Perth, Australia. Oh, wow. Good morning. Good morning to you. Okay. Good to have you here. Let's see. Okay. Everybody saying hi. Okay, that's wonderful. And if I missed anybody, let me try to go up here a little bit because I hate it when I miss people. I don't want anybody to think anything is done intentionally. It is not. Okay, I don't see anybody that I've missed. Okay, so that's just something that I wanted to touch on with people is about prepping your garden, prepping things that you may need in case. Because why do we prep? We prep for emergency situations. Why do we prep? We prep for what if I can't get so and so? I got it. So that's why I said, get your books, get your information wherever you get it. Because I'm not saying on the internet or whatever, it's not good. But I'm saying, what if that's not available? What you gonna do? If you got it all up here, that's good. But what if you don't have it all up there? What if you're like me and you can only hold so much now? Got a reference book that I can fall back on. So that's what I'm saying is because, I'm old school. I'm a great grandmother. And there was a time when these things were not available where you can just Google this or you can just whatever. They didn't have that. And I had got used to researching and looking things up. And I think that that's not a bad thing to do. So I'm promoting that. I'm promoting people get back into these books, get back into having you something that you can put your hands on to fall back on when you need it. Learn how to, and this is something that I don't know. I've learned a few things that are growing wild in my garden that actually have medicinal good things that I'm learning, but there's so much more out there that I don't know about. So I got to learn how to identify these things so that I know, look, I got so-and-so growing out here. This didn't even cost me anything, and it's good for blah, blah, blah. So, I think that's a good thing for us to think about and how to identify stuff. And yeah, you can go over here and you can take this and you can do blah, 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 and you can find whatever. But what if that don't work no more? What if that don't work and you need so-and-so, and you can't go get it? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm preparing myself for. And I'm just getting to the beginning of it. I know some things, but there's a whole bunch out there that wide open that I don't know. And I'm learning. I'm making some steps in the right direction. That's the main thing, So let me look over here and let me see if I'm missing anybody. Okay, Annie's Kitchen and Urban Homestead. I said hello. Okay. And so that was one of the books. And for people that came in later, I had a couple of books. And don't y'all laugh at me. But this was one of my original gardening books that I used. And it's an old book. But I tell you, it's an all-purpose book that has everything in it that you could need. I mean, from rototilling to talking about the plants to what they was calling back then square foot gardening. I mean, way back before people was even doing this stuff. I was doing it and I learned it in a book. So that's an all-purpose book that I talked about earlier in this video that I had and still use, and it's still relevant. So that's one of them. And then this one here, which was my very first gardening book that I ever bought. And it was accompanying the PBS series. And this was the man Crockett. He died. And so now they don't call it Crockett Victory Garden. They just call it Victory Garden. But this book is where that show came from. And this man. And I'm telling you, I still hear his words sometimes. I used to watch him And I still hear things that he said on that show. I remember he used to talk about, I think he said he had a size 13 foot shoe size. And he used to always talk about, putting that down and push this stuff down with these. And I used to remember, and sometimes when I'm planting or doing stuff, I remember certain things pop back in my head of him. I really thought a lot of him. I thought a lot of what he did. I thought a lot of this book, and I keep it and I fall back on it. He talks about plant diseases. He got pictures. I mean, anything. He talks about certain things. He got cold frame. He got plans in there. Can you see that? How to make a cold frame. My very first, compost thing I had somebody do. He had plans in here for that. I mean, he showed you how to do everything. And still, how I fertilize, even though I'm not in the ground anymore, I'm doing pots. Still, how I do my gardening, how I fertilize, how I do things in there. A lot of it I learned from him. I still use that stuff to today. And if you go look at my harvest videos, you'll see results that I get. So get you some good books. Fall back on them when you need to. And then I talked about this one too, which I had talked about in my last video. I'm just kind of recapping for people who came in later. That I had forgot to talk in the last time I did the video on cross-pollination. So cross-pollination, I hadn't talked about that in the last one. And then when I looked at my video, I said, you didn't talk about such and such. You should have talked about that. So cross-pollination, this book covers all of that. Talks about things that are pollinated in the air, things that are pollinated by the insects. It talks about isolation, of isolating things if you want to. And then you have to self-pollinate it yourself and all that. So get you some type of reference that you can have for what if in your prep. Okay? It's worth it because we need to be ready. We need to be ready. And I tell you, I think about that stuff all the time about being ready. I'm just trying to put this book over here. And so I think that now that's all I had to say on those things. And if you missed it, you can start it from the beginning if you want to catch the recap and check out what I said about those things that I was talking about earlier. Now, what I want to tell people, let's see. Seed biodiversity. Let's see, going with Hudson, I have a container garden book. Oh, that's wonderful, Hudson. Absolutely. See, that's right. A good book. And I'm sure that has come in handy for you. Yeah, see, and I never did get a container gardening book because for me, I've been gardening so long and I just transferred everything that I knew from growing in the ground to a pot, but there were differences. And I think one of the key things that I had learned from that first book that I ever bought from Crockett was that pay attention to stuff. And that's one of the things that I use. I pay close attention to my garden and my things in my garden. And so, a lot of times people would say, well, when do you fertilize? How often do you fertilize? And I say, when my things need it. And for me, that might sound like you just cutting somebody off, but I really mean that. I look at my stuff and I say, okay, this looks like it needs more water. I think this needs fertilizer. And I think in my mind, when did you fertilize this last? I don't say every 2 weeks I do this. Every 7 days I do that. Just generally just spray across the board, spray everything. At first, I was starting out spraying everything. But then even though stuff was, I'm trying to think of the word, like it's natural, even though the spray is supposed to be natural, it's still a chemical. So I try to be mindful of that and not just across the board doing this, that, and the other. Because I see a lot of people, they have big, I would say farm, and they have apple trees with bugs in it. They say we don't spray these trees. We cut that out of the apple and we use it. And I think back to the time, that's what people used to do. People wasn't spraying all this stuff on their food, even if it's supposed to be natural or organic or whatever. Gardening and everything has become so expensive. So, especially for me with a container garden, and I got a large container garden because I have 131 containers. You got to try to figure out, how can I garden like this and not cost a lot of money? And the soil is a big issue for me. I started making my own soil this past summer, but I don't have compost. I need a big compost pile, but I haven't figured out how I can do without having so many critters, creating critters. Because every time I tried to make a compost pile, and y'all can give me some advice if you have something you want to throw out here for me. But every time I tried to make a compost thing and put the stuff in there, I live along the woods. I have a woods around me. So there would be a deer would come in. It was drawing critters in, and field mice and stuff, and they was eating the stuff up. So I wasn't getting anything. So I have to research, and now that's another book. I know I heard somebody on YouTube talking about composting, and it sounded like a real good book. So I think that I'm going to go back and find the name of that book, and I'm going to invest in that, because I need to know, what can I do to stop this? Because that's why I really don't have any compost. I compost now in buckets. I put buckets, and I put all the stuff in the buckets, and I've been making compost in the buckets, and it works, but it's not giving me a large enough volume. I have more than one bucket, but it's not giving me enough. But I need to have that for cut down on expenses, cut down, and find ways that I can garden for less, because you don't want your vegetables to cost you so much. It becomes, especially now, I think now, okay, I have a compost book. Oh, okay. What's the name of your book, if you want to share it? And Hudson said organic. Yes, that's right. Organic. That was a word I was trying to think of. Yeah. So, I need to get a real good book. And I saw this guy, and he's in the UK, and his book sounded really good, really good. And I said, I think I'm going to get that book. And that's on my mind. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's on my mind to get that book, because this man, I heard it was really thorough, and he really got into it and so I thought, the way my mind works, that book sounds like it will work good with my mind. So I want to get more compost going, and in a way that I'm not drawing all these critters to my garden. Even if I move it, because, I got a little over an acre of land. So even if I move it away, it's too far for me. I'm not going to take care of it because it's way somewhere. And so I don't put it right up on the house, but I put it out toward the part of the garden that I usually work. I put it towards the back of that. But they was in there, they was eating and drawing them to my garden. And so I don't want that. I don't want that. Growing out the box, grass, leaves, and native soil. Collect lots of leaves during fall and winter, and use your grass clippings to it's something. Look like insects, critters, no smell. Okay. Gardening with Lisa. We have a 56-gallon container I use for composting. It does smell. I have it on my patio. I want to move it, but I don't have any problems with critters. Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a good idea. And I also like what you said growing out of the box about the leaves. And okay, let me ask you growing out of the box about this, because this is something, the reason I don't put the grass clippings in there. I really don't have grass wants to grow there. My yard looks beautiful. When you cut it down, you're not paying attention to what's really in there. It said I'm unstable. I hope I don't lose the connection. But anyway, what I want to say is I'm scared to put that stuff in a compost, because am I going to be putting weeds? That's why I say I got to educate myself, because I remember Crockett's book. He did talk about, how the heat have to be a certain temperature and whatever, and all the stuff that you need to do. He talked about it somewhat, but I think I need more help, because I'm scared I'm going to make weeds and put all weeds in my pots. So, because I have so many weed type things in my grass, and a lot of clover. And I know clover is aggressive. I don't mind the clover, because rabbits and different things, that's gourmet to them. They'll leave my stuff alone and eat the clover. They love the clover. So, I don't know. I have to research that on that clover, because that may have some good benefits or whatever. I don't know. I got enough of it. Let's see. Okay. The grass will heat your pile up to 150 and will kill all weed seeds and pathogens. Okay. Now, okay. So I'm going to start putting that in there. So are you saying don't put cause I'll be putting kitchen scraps in there. I have plenty of leaves. In my garage, I collected leaves. I got like 4 big bags of leaves, because that's all the room I had in my garage that I have, because I'm in upstate New York, zone 6A and B. And I put them in those, the paper bags full, and I put it in the garage so that I can use them in the garden. So I have started doing that, but I have to be careful, because there's my neighbor, somebody around me has a tree with diseases on it, and it has black spots on the leaves. And I know that that's a disease. I don't know what disease that is, but I'm scared if I just go out there and so what I do is I go to my trees, and as soon as they go to drop, and I grab them leaves up right quick because other people's leaves blow on my property, and then I'm going to have a disease, and I don't want to put diseases in my pots. So that's another concern about the leaves. I feel I gotta be careful of what I put, because when I go out there to try to get the leaves, if I don't get them right away, and I look and I see them leaves in there mixed in with the black spots on it. And I had asked another gardener, a big channel, about that one time. And he said, if I knew what disease it was, because some diseases won't be transferring into my soil or whatever. So I said, well, I don't know what disease is. I don't know what that is. And nowadays, it used to be you could get a leaf, you could go to the garden store, you could show the man this disease I have in my garden. They could tell you what chemical or whatever to put on it. They were knowledgeable people in there that could tell you something. Nowadays, when you go places, they don't know anything. So how do I find out what disease that is? Let's see. Growing out the box. The rabbits are telling you something good. Clover is a great source of nitrogen for compost tea. Aha, okay, okay. So when I do my compost, when I do my weed fertilizer, I put my dandelions in there. I can put that clover and that the grass stuff in there. See, I hadn't been adding them to it, but I can add them in there, and I can also add that into my pile when I'm gonna create for my compost. Okay, I just worry too much about my garden. My garden is like my baby, and I don't want to mess it up. So I'll be trying like I don't want to do this. This might do that. I gotta know, what I'm doing here. Let's see. Okay, that's wonderful information, Jay. Don't add meat or dairy. Okay, yes, I won't add that because I know for a fact that's going to draw some stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to add that. Thank you for that. And Jay, I buy mushroom compost. One bag goes a long way. Yes, I see that in the stores. And I think it's less expensive than some of the other things too. So that's a good thing. I'm trying to cut back this year. I'm trying to cut back. I feel like I'm spending too much on keeping my stuff going and keeping it healthy. And I feel like I need to change up how I'm doing this to a way. And I feel compost. I started with the compost tea and my stuff was doing good. It did great. I had a wonderful harvest. But what I'm saying is by them doubling and tripling these prices of stuff, I'm not going to pay all that for that. So I have to make some changes. And that's where I'm coming from. Now, let's see. That mushroom compost, very good. Gardening with Lisa, we use grass clippings, but we know where it comes from. No weed killer use. We use dead leaves from the garden, kitchen, scraps, eggshells, banana peels, and dryer lint newspaper. Okay, yeah. That sounds like a good mix there of good stuff that you're putting in there. Yeah. The only thing, the dryer lint, I haven't done that before, but I do have compost, but I just didn't do enough. But I like that idea of the garbage can. I also think I'm gonna get me like how you take the wire fencing or whatever it is and put that around there, and then like growing out the box, like you said, I'm going to put all my stuff in there and I'm going to put it in the garbage can too, and then I'm going to see which way works best in my environment for me, how that works out. And because I gotta have more compost. I got to have more compost because I use cow manure and I love cow manure, but things that used to be reasonable, now they just tripling the price on stuff. And I don't intend on paying that. So no. Jay says, me too. Too much money. Absolutely. Lynette, I use my grass, dried clippings, rushed leaves, kitchen scraps, and rain water and plant in that medium. Okay. Sounds good to me. Jay, dryer lint. Yeah, I've heard people using dryer lint. I've heard that. I don't use the dryer, so I don't have lint. I'm one of these old-fashioned people that hangs my clothes on the line. My family laughs at me, but I hang my clothes on the line. And I don't use the dryer. I have a dryer. It's nothing wrong with it. It's in perfect condition. I just don't use it. I will put quilts in there. If it's a wintertime and I need to wash a quilt, I will put that quilt in that dryer because I can't hang it on the line. It's winter here. Everyone have a happy holiday. You too. Blessings. Thank you for coming by, Hudson. Growing out the box. Free, free, free. I only use grass and leaves with native soil. Create the pile once and turn it every 7 days. The pile needs to be a minimum of 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, because I'm sure going to be getting into that compost. I got to. I'm forced to produce more than I have been producing. So yes, because I'm cutting these expenses. I'm cutting them. I'm making my own, I call it weed fertilizer. I'm making that, and that did very well. My plants loved it. And I use the dandelions because I researched the dandelions and found out that they were just as good as the comfrey was. They had everything that the comfrey had, except there was one thing, I can't remember what it was, that the dandelion didn't have. And so I tried that out, and I love it. And I just let mine get big, let the roots on them get strong, and then I just get them up and use them, and it is working beautiful. So I'm learning some stuff here. This is wonderful, because there are areas we can all learn. We can all learn something. And that's what this is all about, a sharing of information, a sharing of things that work for people, and also do your own research. And that's why I say have something to fall back on. Prep for if you need it. If you need it. And the other things aren't available. If this here ain't ready, you can't use this, no, it don't work, something has happened, then you need to be able to proceed on and have a lifestyle that is getting the medicinal things that you need, growing those things, and having stuff that, oh, I need to know how to do this. Oh, I need, because right now, look at all the information we share. But what if we couldn't do this? What if we couldn't do this right here? That's what I'm talking about. So everybody just kind of think about that. Think about what you can do. Think about how you can be ready for whatever. Be ready for whatever, because there's some things that have happened that I never would have believed in my lifetime that would have happened. And so I don't put anything as this can't happen. I don't do that anymore. So let me see what else is going on here. Okay. Lynette says somebody said to add weed to your compost tea because they return yearly and are strong and steady. Uh-huh. Yeah. I do that with my dandelions. You should see how big the roots and thing on them things when I pull them out. Huge, the diameter of them, because I pull them out and it makes them stronger. They grow back. And yeah, and now that I read to y'all some of the medicinal things of dandelions, now I know that the leaves and the root of the dandelion is something that has a good medicinal stuff. And I read it to y'all because I can't remember everything I said. But and another thing is echinacea, purple coneflower. I have plenty of that, because if you look at my videos when I show the front walkway, how it's loaded with them. They love my garden. And those are so good. Now, I know about like if you have a cold or preventing a cold or whatever, but I don't know other stuff about it, but I'm going to research it. So anybody know stuff about that, share it. Let me see what else is going on here. Okay, gardening with Lisa. I put a lot of holes in my container and keep it covered. It does smell and nothing tries to get in it. Okay, that's what I need. That's what I need, because I got the critters. I got the woods, and boy, they come. And I need something that they won't want. And Stephen J. Coleman, hey, Merry Christmas. Love you. Greetings, Santa. Hello. That's my brother. Growing out of the box, I make dandelion honey. Ooh, I seen that somewhere recently. I seen that. As a matter of fact, it may have been in that modern herbal dispensary book. It may have been in here that I seen dandelion honey. Yeah. Ooh, boy. Wow, you're really into it. I'm telling you, that dandelion honey sounds so good to me. Now, what do you do with the dandelion honey? I mean, I know you use it, but is there a purpose why you're growing it? Yes, I love the garden community. Learn so much. Absolutely, gardening with Lisa. Yes, AJ Young. Hey, welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Hey, say, hey, y'all. And Lynette's dandelions are great in the compost tea. Yes, they are. And I have found that my main thing is dandelions in there. And now I'm going to be adding some more things now that I done found out about that clover. I'm going to be adding some more stuff in there with the dandelions. And I do have the comfrey, but the comfrey is in a container because I have a container garden. And I know that the roots have to go deep down into the ground to get all that stuff up. So it's in a container. So I'll be thinking to myself, I don't know how good my comfrey it really is, because it can't go down in the ground. It's confined to a pot. So I do get the leaves and I do a chop and drop. I go around in my pots and I just put the leaves in there, pull them up, tear them up, throw them in there and use them. I do use them like that. Let's see what else what's going on here. Yes, dandelions in your compost tea. Absolutely. That's what I make. Jay, Miss Cynthia, are you going to grow any ginger next year? I don't think I'm going to grow ginger next year. I grew ginger one year, and I'm trying to think about, my ginger died. I remember that. I grew turmeric and ginger. Now, the turmeric did good, and I harvested and I did a video on it. The ginger, I don't know what happened. I ordered it from a company. They sent me the little things. I planted them. They was coming up good. And then all of a sudden I looked at them. They was dead. And I should have told the people that they died, but I didn't tell them. And the reason I'm not going to grow any is because I have ginger in my freezer. And I don't use a lot of ginger. But if I find out in this book that ginger has a lot of medicinal benefits, I may be using more ginger. But at this point right now, I have it in the freezer and I have quite a bit of it. So I was thinking, that was another thing I was thinking about my garden, because I've been evaluating in my head about my garden coming up, what I want to do and the things I want to focus on. And one of the things I was thinking I want to focus on, I want more greens. I want more greens. I want greens that I can put in my freezer, not a little bit, but a lot. I did this past time, I grew more beans because I said I wanted more plant-based protein. So I grew more beans, worked out beautiful. I want to continue with more beans. So I want to focus on certain things of growing, but not just growing a little bit, growing a lot of one thing, so that I can have that thing to fall back on. And herbs. Now I'm going to grow my traditional peppers, eggplants, squash, and stuff like that. But I was thinking to myself, this past time, I had a lot of peppers. And so I have a lot of peppers in my freezer. I have a lot of peppers. I'm using fresh peppers right now, believe it or not, from my garden. I have them in the refrigerator and they still living. And when I cook, I use a lot of peppers. So I'm trying to think of what things is it that you use a lot that you need to grow more of. You growing it, but you weren't growing that enough. You know, when people say, well, you're only one person, why do you need all that? Because when you put stuff up, we have long winters. We don't have, we got a short little growing season. So if you're going to put it up, you got to be able to put enough up to last you. So let me see what else. So I answered your question about the ginger. Let's see. Okay, Jay. Okay, you growing ginger, Jay? What about ginger? Can you tell me? Medicinal? Any medicinal? Any, not in. Okay, I don't know what that is. Growing out the box. That's right. Okay, dandelions are great for the garden. Yes, they are. And people out there, I got a neighbor, they pay a company, comes in, sprays and kills all the stuff in their dandelions, kill all that stuff. And I hate that they're next to me because spraying that stuff. But they moved out and now there's new people that got that house and they don't spray anything. They don't even cut their grass hardly. But I'm kind of glad that I don't have them spraying them chemicals all the time, because where my garden is not that far from that property because that was a good spot for the sun. And so my dandelion, and when I didn't know any better, I've been in this house 40 years. So when I didn't know any better, I used to be out there like everybody else, put weed killers on there, do this and that, because that's what you thought you had to do. It's been years since my land doesn't have any chemicals that I'm putting on it like that. My land has, I need to be using more of the soil in my land. That's another thing I want to try doing too, is going ahead and getting some of this good soil that I have in spots that I'm not using. You can't see it. And then get that soil and putting that soil in my pots, mixing it in there. So that's something else I want to do to save some money, because these bags of soil, I hate to say it, but some of them ain't no good. And when you get the ones that are good, they cost you an arm and a leg. And I'm just trying to save money in the garden, y'all. Save money in the garden, because when you see prices going how they're going, jumping, tripling on gardening stuff, gardening supplies, the things that we need, the things that they tell you that you need. But when you think about it, you don't really need that. People didn't have that before. But we've been trained that you need this stuff. So I'm trying to get my mindset out of, no, I don't need that. I got everything here that I need mostly. And you need to learn how to use what you have out here to make things work. Let's see. Lynette's get thumbs up. Oh, okay. Jay. Gardening with Lisa. I'm going to grow more green beans too. All right for you, girl. That's right. Beans, beans, beans. They're good for you. Yes, ma'am. There's a lot of medicinal properties of ginger. Excellent for cold, sore throat, digestion. I think lowers blood pressure too. All right, Jay. All right. So now see, that's giving me a reason to grow ginger now, because I'm going to look more into that. And then you may see me growing some ginger. In my comment, I said but meant to say any on on the ginger. Okay. And Lynette says ginger is great for stomach issues. Okay. All right. So that's a good reason for me to be growing it. And I'll have to get it from somebody who I feel is reliable and grow it. Or let me ask y'all this. Can I get organic ginger from the store and plant it? Would that work? Because I tried something different this time. I know everybody does this, but I just did it. I when I planted my garden, my garlic, I planted it real late too. I went to the store and I just went to the regular grocery store and bought some garlic at a store that their garlic is beautiful. Ooh, big old cloves. They almost look like elephant garlic, and they are nice. And that sometimes I've seen them trying to sprout. So I thought these might grow. So I got them. And then went to another place and I bought organic garlic and I got that and I planted them. And I'm going to see, this is a test for me to see, did these things grow and how did they do? And because when I was looking in the books for garlic and I saw the prices of what they wanted for you to get garlic, you wasn't getting anything and you was paying an arm and a leg for it. I said, I'm not paying that. I'm not going to pay these high prices, because if you do, and we can still get the stuff, it's not worth it to grow it. So we have to think of ways, at least I think so, think of ways how you can grow these things, even though they jacking the price up on everything, how you can grow it and have it to not cost so much, and saving your garlic so that you can keep on continually planting and planting and planting, which is what, because once they find out you're buying the one in the store, how long do you think it's going to take them to start? Some of it is already being sprayed with stuff where it won't grow, an inhibitor. How long do you think it's going to take them to stop that? So we got to be thinking ahead. You got to think one step ahead of what can I do? What can I do to save money when prices are going crazy and I need to grow food and I need to be sustainable in a garden? Let's see what else we got on here. Okay, that's the conversation going on. Okay, Gardening with Lisa said, yes, that will work. Okay, growing that ginger, is that for me? Growing that ginger? Jay, completely organic. Growing out the box. Ginger has gingerol, which has anti-inflammatory and antioxidants. These help fight cancer cells. Oh, that's a good one. That's another good reason for me to grow ginger. That's why I'm saying this stuff that we can get, that we can grow ourselves, but the benefit of how it can help us, and you didn't have to go to the store because I don't know about anybody else, but when they just here, ginger is high in the store to go in there and get it. And so, it's worth it. Like when I grow leeks every year. And this year I had an abundance of leeks. And the reason I love them, but I have good luck with the leeks, but I grew some onions. They didn't really all get that big or do like I wanted. They grew, but I felt like, well, they could have been bigger. And I thought about what I paid for those, where I bought them at, where everybody goes. And I thought about, this is not worth it to me. So the leeks are worth it to me because I use the leeks like I use onions. So whatever I'm going to put an onion in, I can still put a leek in it. And, put my leeks, I dry them, I freeze them. They have that good taste. And when you go to the store, look at the price of a leek. Here, they are high. My sister bought, this is gardening with Lisa. My sister bought ginger from the store in 2020 and grew it in 2021, had a great harvest, saved some 2021 harvest, and planted in 2022 and had a great harvest this year. Wonderful. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing that. And you didn't even say it was organic. Gardening with Lisa, yes. Jay, yes, Whole Foods is completely organic. Yes, it is. I love Whole Foods. We don't have a Whole Foods here. We have a big chain here. Well, they started out as a local grocery store here, and now they have advanced outside of New York into some states around us, and they're fighting with all this crap. Whole Food came in, got the site, started building, and then they threw a wrench in it and said, hey, you're doing this, you're taking up this land, you're doing that, and stopping them. And it's this big chain that's behind the whole thing. So they supposed to, it's this thing been going on 3 years. 3 years they've been fighting in court. So I just want the Whole Foods to come here. I love Whole Foods. When I was travel nursing, I always shopped at the Whole Foods. Growing out the box to right. I got things with grow things you buy once. Yes, grow things you buy once. Get ginger from your farmer's market. Okay, get ginger from your farmer's market. Okay. I like to shop at the farmer's market, and I'll be getting me some ginger and some other stuff now. I'm starting to do it a different ways, because before things were affordable to me to just get the catalog, go through there and get this and that. Now, last year I grew this last season, but season before that, I bought sweet potato slips. And then I planted from that this past year, from the slips I saved some of my, my potatoes, and I grew them and got a good harvest. And when I look in the catalog and see what they want for sweet potato slips and stuff, I'm not paying that. I'm not going to pay that. So I'm thinking of ways to do it where I can have it affordable, sustainable, because if stuff is so high and they keep on jacking the price up, that's not sustainable unless you're wealthy. And then you can afford to go where the rich people shop. They've probably got good food in there. Yeah, get ginger from the farmer market. Okay. Well, that is so good to know, you guys. This has been jam-packed with information, and not just information for me, but information for anybody in the chat, anybody that's looking, and anybody who may come and look at this video later, that they can get information out of here that can be helpful to them, because nobody should be ashamed to learn. You constantly learning in life. You constantly getting better. That's how you get better, with trying new things and seeing what somebody's doing, and getting your good reference books and checking several places and doing your research. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. That's how you produce your medicinal things that's going to help you in your prep, and also your garden, that you can grow these things, and you can also grow food, so you can be able to sustain yourself in these hard times. Now, let's see. J. I read that one. Gardening with Lisa. Yes, my sister grows sweet potato slips from our sweet potato harvest. Yes. And I did that for the first time. It turned out good. That's wonderful. And now I'm not gonna buy anymore. I got my sweet potatoes. I'm eating them, and boy, I'm gonna tell you something. Y'all probably know people who've been growing sweet potatoes for years, but when I think it was like year before last was my first time growing sweet potato. Well, anyway, I had never tasted a homegrown sweet potato. Boy, what a difference. Oh my goodness. I just eat the sweet potato. It is so good. It is so good. And just think of the nutrition, and you're getting a fresh sweet potato that wasn't on a truck shipped from way somewhere and with all kind of stuff sprayed on it or whatever. So yeah, I'll be growing that from now on. And hopefully my garlic gonna come up good. And I'm gonna have my garlic where I can continue to go with that. Because see, the squirrel dug all my stuff up. That's why you see my garden with the tool on it, because the squirrel was digging and digging and digging and exposing the roots of the stuff. Didn't want the garlic, but to this freezing weather here, and killed all my stuff. And so that's why I've been catching the squirrels. They're not cute little critters to me. They don't have no name here, because you're getting out of here. As soon as I see you, your days are numbered. I'm not killing them. I just relocate them. You got to take them 20-something miles away from your house. With gas high, that's a lot. But I take them away. And they can't stay here. And so now I got that have a heart thing, and I use it. Boy, I can't tell you, I must have caught 4 or 5, because every time one get gone, they territorial. They're gonna come in. So it's gonna be a continuous getting rid of them. But it's worth it to me to get rid of them, because I can't stand that going out there and you done dug my stuff up. You done ate this. You done that. You got to stay on top of them, because if you don't stay on top of them in your community, those squirrels get multiplied and multiplied. Then you're gonna have a big mess. You have to work on them constantly. It's a constant job. That's what I found in my yard, my garden. Let me see what's saying here. Miss Cynthia, how are you gonna deal with the Japanese beetles come spring, summer season? Well, for me with the Japanese beetles, and I do have them. However, this year I noticed it wasn't as bad as the year before. But I have found, because I was watching the Bull's Garden. I don't think it was this year he did that video. It might have been the year before. But he did the video where he was walking around with the container with the water. I don't know if he had water with something in it or whatever, but he was just getting them off and putting them in there, killing them, just picking them off. And so when I saw him doing that, I thought to myself, I'm going to try that. So I take mine and I put like a soapy water. I put soap in it. And then I just grab them off of there and put them in there. Grab them off of there and put them in there. And you know what? That seemed to help, because that was year before last. And this year I didn't hardly have many. And I just did that. I would just put them in the bucket with that soapy water, or I had gloves on. And I think you may have seen me do this in a video. I know it's yucky, but I didn't have any gloves on, and I saw the Japanese beetle, and I knew I had to get it. And I would just squish it right there and squish it. And that's just what I did. Because think about the olden days. Did they spray these chemicals on there? Nope. How did they get rid of the Japanese beetle? They had to use their mind. They had to use different things like this. We don't need all those chemicals. And so when you control stuff, it seems to me like what happened to me, I had less, because that year before I was vigilant on them. And it was amazing to me because I was so surprised. I thought I was going to have to spray like my apple tree that was loaded with apples. I didn't even spray that tree. I thought it would have wormholes. It didn't have any wormholes in it. So I didn't know if I had a good year or what, but it's only a 1-year-old tree, but it was loaded. And there was no worms in it. So I think that there are ways that you can do stuff. We should probably talk about that more, natural ways of getting rid of stuff. I do put down diatomaceous earth. I do put that on things. I do sprinkle things with that for certain things. I do put down little containers with beer in it for the slugs. And I did a video on that, how many slugs I caught, because they was tearing my Georgia collard greens up. I mean, had ate them all, was tearing. I hardly had anything. And you can see that video. I put that beer and I showed you what I caught in there. And it was amazing. And those greens went from hardly anything toe up to big, huge, beautiful leaves that I had by the end of the season, and kept them all the way up to like November in my garden, so I had them through to Thanksgiving. Beautiful greens. It's in a video because I used the natural, the beer, that was good. So I'm trying to think of more ways, because think about it. If we got to spray, we got to buy this. Look how much that stuff costs. Look how much the neem is costing. Look how much the diatomaceous earth is costing. Look how much these things are costing you. Is there an alternate way of how you can control these things without having to pay for all these chemicals? And also, I heard somebody say, and I do believe this is true, that might be why I had less of a bug problem. Your soil is the key. Good soil produces good, healthy plants. Bugs don't want that. They're going to attack the weak ones. Also, I do companion planting. If you look at my garden, you'll see I got all kind of stuff planted together. So I try to make it a little bit harder for the bugs to find what it is, So I think it's different ways we can do stuff, but it's easy to go and buy this chemical. It's easy to do that and put that down. That's easy. But there are alternate ways we can do stuff. And I'm going to get more into that, because the prices are pushing me to seek out these other ways, the prices. And not only that, I'm wondering, what was that thing? Oh, Serenade. That Serenade, I used to spray that on everything. And then all of a sudden, Serenade went away. You couldn't go anywhere and get it. So I was wondering to myself, why? What happened? What was wrong with that? You know what I mean? So I started thinking, I didn't hear nothing about it. And if somebody knows something about it, let me know. But I didn't hear anything about Serenade is, let me tell y'all what, before I forget. If you hadn't hit the thumbs up, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, y'all. It helps my channel grow. Okay, just go hit it out. You might have to get out of the chat, go over there and hit it, and then come on right back in. Okay, but that made me start thinking, this is supposed to be something that is, I believe they said it was organic. It was supposed to be good for you. And then all of a sudden, what happened to it? Why? So that made me think. So that's after that happened, I started thinking about, I think I'm going to start trying to see if I can not use these things. Now, I may end up having a bad infestation or something and may have to use something. I'm not saying I won't, but I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try alternate ways. And that chemical will be the last resort, and it will be an organic thing, but it will be the last resort. But what I was saying is the soil Make sure your soil is good and healthy. Make sure that that has the things in it that those plants need. And then let that plant come up and be a good, strong, healthy, good plant. I think you'll have less of a problem, because I know I did. I had less of a problem. And like I said, I'm always looking. I'm always looking at my stuff, seeing, hey, this looks like you got a problem. Hey, something eating on this. Hey, whatever. I try. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I try to do these things. And I think you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. And I don't want to get to the point that I just out there every 2 weeks spray this. Every 2 weeks do that. Mm-mm. Because you're spraying stuff, you're putting stuff down. The diatomaceous earth is ground up shells. That's why I do put that down. And I'll tell you, give you a little tip here. When I was doing my seedlings inside, this past winter, the year before, I had fungus gnats bad because I had hung them strips up in there, but I could close that room off. So I kept them contained in one room. But I had strips hanging up and you could see them all on the strips and stuff. So I thought about how they live and where they come from. And so I took that diatomaceous earth when I planted my stuff and I put it on the dirt inside when I was doing planting my seeds. I put it on there. Now, when I watered, you got to water from the bottom, because if you water from the top, you're going to wash it away. I didn't have one fungus gnat, not one. So I'll be doing that again this year. That worked well. And that's crushed shells. So I don't mind using that. Crustaceans, I think that's what they call it, if I'm saying the word right. Let me see here. Okay, I answered the question about the Japanese beetle, I think. Growing out the box. Don't forget that you can eat the sweet potato leaves. Also, yes, I did cook those one time. They was good. Tastes like kind of like spinach to me. Gardening with Lisa, the first time I watched you, you was harvesting your sweet potatoes last year. Your first time growing sweet potatoes. I was so excited for you. Yes, I was so excited. I was so excited. I had watched people and I had seen some people. Well, I just kind of grew the sweet potatoes. I didn't know what I was doing, but I always focus on my soil, whatever I'm growing. I didn't know about sweet potatoes, but I always try to have good soil. So I did have good soil. And I just grew the sweet potatoes. And then when I started getting them out, I was like, oh my goodness. I was so thrilled. They turned out so good. And it was my first year. So that's when you start watching me. Okay, gardening with Lisa. You I don't know. I just like hearing you say that. I had one lady in a comment on there. You just made me think of something. One lady with a comment she put on that sweet potato video. She said, every time you was going in there for something, she said it was like I'm trying to think how she said it's like a pulling a rabbit out of a hat or something. She said every time I think that it was gonna be in you pull another one out. And I remember that was so wonderful. Oh, Wanda. Okay, I refuse to plant anything ever in my house. I will be winter sowing for my spring and summer crops. Okay, tell me why. I think it's a good idea, but I just would like to know why. What changed your mind? Um, I know for me, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Those seedlings are a lot of work. If I lived in a place where I didn't have to put things in like I did in with my seedlings, I wouldn't be doing it. And when I see people that live in a warm place and they're doing inside, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be direct sowing my stuff outside. But because our season is so short, and see what happens is we've not been having spring. So if you don't have a spring and you jump straight into summer and you jump into that heat and you jump into that heat right away, and I found for some things that love heat, that's wonderful. Your okra, your peppers, or whatever. But see, it jumps into that, but it don't stay there. Then it get cold. So I found I had to do the seedlings because I could kind of pick and choose when I could put out what. And then it had a little bit of a head start. So I could go ahead and it worked out well for me this year. I had beautiful abundance, bumper crop of peppers, uh, wonderful harvest of tomatoes. Um, Everything worked out good. Melons. I even planted there was one particular squash that I grew, and that squash, I had tried growing it before in the garden the year before in a pot, direct sowing. It didn't have enough time. What happened was it got to the point that it produced a little squash and it ran out of time and it got cold. So I made sure I started that one inside, even though it was starting to get big. And I was just like, okay, this squash plant is getting big and I need to get this outside, but the temperature outside is not letting me. So what I did was I kicked everything out to the garage. I evicted them. I said, y'all getting out of here. I'm sick of these plants in the house. I'm kicking you out. I put them all in the garage. I watered them, took care of them in the garage once they had got up to a size, but it wasn't, I couldn't plant them yet because the weather was showing out. And then they worked out. It worked out. And then once I had left them out there for a while, they were sort of hardening off a little bit in that garage. Then I took them and I put them under my magnolia tree. So the tree was shading them and helping them, protecting them a little bit. And I covered them up with tulle and stuff like that. And it worked out beautiful. So I'm going to try that again because growing those seedlings inside was a pain in the butt. And some people enjoy doing that, but I do not. I do it and I do it 150% because I'm not going to be slacking because I want, but it wasn't fun for me. It was a lot of work. So if I lived in a place where I didn't have to do that, I wouldn't. And some things I direct sow because you see me in the garden, I say, I put seeds in over here. I put seeds in over here. I just put this in. It ain't come up yet, whatever, because the things that I could do that with, I did that with. But certain things like my peppers, my tomato plants, those melons, those squashes that took a long time and I wouldn't be able to grow it here. I didn't even think, I tell you the truth, I didn't think I would get anything from that squash. I thought growing this inside is struggling. It's getting big. It wants to get out of this pot. But the one thing that helped me, and I did recently did a short on that, how to have strong, healthy plants. When I took that, mixed up my soil, mixed up some good soil, regular soil, and put it in my pots with some nutrition in it. Then I put that seed starter mix on top of it. Then I put my plants in there. That helped them plants. They got through all the transition of me waiting so long to get them into the ground. When I put stuff in, it looked sickly looking because as soon as I put it in there, the heat and all that, but them things took off. So I'm going to try that again too. That worked well for me. Let's see what we have here. Okay, Elwanda, gnats. I bottom water my seedlings. I sprinkle cinnamon on top of the soil. I boil water to kill any gnats and eggs in the soil. Still gnats. Yep. Tried all them. They didn't work. That diatomaceous earth worked. That cinnamon stuff did not work for me. And that boiling the water, I didn't want to boil the water because I thought boiling it, I had done this before I ever heard anybody talking about boiling water. I had found out through research that I could take my soil and put it in the oven on the lowest low temperature. And then it said, I said this in a video on it's one of my videos. I have the details in it, but I can't. It's under seed starting soil, something like that in the playlist. But I can't remember everything right now. But I took, and you're supposed to have a thermometer. Put it in there when that soil gets a certain temperature, it's ready. But what it does is it's not killing it. And now you're realizing that this is not soil. This is seed starting. So you're not trying to feed it anyway. You're not trying to feed with that. You're just trying to get that seed to germinate. So for me, I put it in that oven, that low temperature for the amount of time that it said, and that worked also. So I do that. And I put like I said, regular good soil with that I've mixed up with good nutrition, put that seed starting stuff on top of it and put them seeds in there. And they did fantastic. And I had not, and put that diatomaceous earth on there and did not have any fungus gnats at all. I kept going in there and looking at my little strip that I had hanging up and looking to see if I missed something, if it was a net. Nothing. And if you go back and look at my seeds, seedlings that I did last winter, go back and look, see how many I had. I have my whole big shelving unit all the way to the full of seedlings. Also, my grow tent full in there with seedlings and no fungus gnats, not one. So that worked. And if it don't work for you, let me know. Let me know, because I'd be curious to know that. You got to bottom water. Gardening with Lisa, I'd rather start all my seeds outside, but I have to start tomatoes, peppers, and okra inside early. And when it's warm enough, I transplant them. Yes, that's what I would do too if I lived in your climate. That's good. That's good. And that was another thing. My okra never did too good until I started starting it inside. I did that and then put it out there. I'm using that method that I told you with the nutrition. So my plants was in good shape when I put them out there. Jay, I do better direct sowing. George has a long growing season. Okay, I think that's supposed to be Georgia. Yeah. Direct sowing, that's the way to go in your climate. Absolutely. That's why it's always good to know. What you always hear me say, I'm in zones, upstate New York, zone 6A and B. I always say that. I always say that because I want people to know where I'm growing. So from my perspective, in my climate, this is what I do. But I know when I didn't know about certain things and I would watch people and they wouldn't let you know, and you'd be thinking, oh, I can go do that too. And then you do it and yours don't work. So it's important to know where somebody is because climates are different. And also you'll hear me say sometimes when I do lives, I'm not trying to pick on anybody or anything like that. But when I do a live, I'll say, I kind of have a pet peeve about somebody speaking about a climate that they don't live in, because I always tell people, try to get people in your growing area. Now you can have all kind of people in your thing, but hook up with some of them people that you're watching on a regular so you'll know what's going on with them. You'll know what's going on with them because the climate's changing so much. And when somebody's speaking about they done went on the internet and read something and they come on, they're telling you what you can do, and you can't do that anymore. That's old news. That's news that's invalid because of the weather changing. So I kind of pet peeve with me because I realize for a new gardener that can discourage them because it failed. Oh, Jay, you love using tools. Me too. I think I got I got three things of it in my bin in the garage that I haven't used. And I'm going to order some more. So when I get out there and I hit on the spring and get out there, because I got my clean my pots and stuff out, I didn't do none of that. I did some containers, but I didn't do them all because I felt like the squirrel was in there digging because it was nice and fluffy and good for them to dig in, and they throwing my dirt out. So I left the roots and stuff in there, even though it may be some disease or something in there. I'm hoping not. That because I left the roots and stuff because they don't want to dig now. They don't want to dig on that because you got to find out how to stop them. Yeah, I love using tool, Jay. And Elwanda, I'm going to be winter sowing any peppers and tomatoes. Okay. I think that people have great success with that. That's good. Gardening with Lisa, I went to sow all my brassicas. They can germinate in the snow. Yep. And then they already acclimated. That's a good idea. Gardening with Lisa, I have to try that, Miss Cynthia. Baking, use seed starting soil. Yeah. Low temperature. It kills what's in there, because when you think about pouring hot water, first of all, how hot is the water? And you pour hot water on there, that's probably not going to kill everything. But if you put that in there slow and steady like that for a certain amount of time, and I got it in a video how long I was left it in there and the temperature I use, but you can probably Google that and find it. It's not out there big time, but if you dig, it's out there. And that's what I do. And I make mine up ahead of time. So when I'm not even planting, because it takes a while for that to happen. So I don't want to be in a hurry and trying to do something. I have my soil already, and I just take it and put it in there, and I put it in a big old those aluminum pans that you get to bake in. I put the soil in there and put it in that oven. And then when it's ready and I take it out and let it cool, you don't really need to let it cool long because it's not really that hot at all because you don't have it on a high temperature. And then I put it in that plastic bag and I just fill my bag up with the soil. Then when I'm doing my little things, it's ready to go. All I got to do is use it. Because I used those little pellets last time. I hate them. I used them last year for the first time. I'm not going to use them again. I don't like those. They dry out so fast. You got to transplant right away. But the method that I used, I ain't got to transplant. I mean, not transplant, but up pot right away. I don't have to. And then some things I didn't up pot at all. I didn't up pot them at all. So I don't even want to tell y'all how long I left stuff in that little container, but it stayed in there and it didn't die because it was in the good nutrition in the bottom of the thing. I mixed up some good soil and put in there. So anyway, I'm trying different things. Let's see. I have to try that, Miss Cynthia. Okay. Elwanda, I baked my soil too, still nets. Okay. Try to dive to Mrs. Earth and see if you get it. I don't think you would, but you say you ain't gonna do no more inside. But they don't like that because see, I always heard find out how things, why something does something. Well, see, they want to lay their eggs on there. They don't want to lay their eggs on that diatomaceous earth. That's a deterrent. So what happens is when you plant it, and there may be a few eggs already there, but luckily I didn't have that. But there may be, and those will come up, will die. They live a little bit and they die. Ain't no more, they ain't gonna lay no eggs on that. So you're not gonna have any more after that. So that's what I found out, the cycle of what they do and why they do it and how they do it. And I tried that and it worked beautiful. I'm telling you, I had none. All them seedlings, not one. Let's see. I'm too traumatized to try it again. Okay, don't try it again. I don't blame you because that's fungus nests. I hate them. I hate them. And that's why I got so serious on them. I didn't want to be doing the diatomaceous earth in the house because I thought, oh, that might be messy. But what I did was I got my things already and put it on them in the garage. I went to the garage and put that on them so that I wouldn't have that in the house. And I put a mask on. Growing out the box, I use my outdoor grill to bake any soil I bring inside. You cannot kill the minerals in soil, and you don't need nutrients to germinate seed. Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying. Yes. And your outdoor grill, that's an excellent way to do it because you're not worrying about no nutrients or anything like that. You're trying to germinate the seeds. Absolutely. Jay, yes, tool is amazing. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I hope the price I hope that don't happen. That's why I try to, like I say, prep for your garden. I'm not prepping chemicals and dirt anymore, but I used to, but I'm stopping all that. But what I'm doing now is the tool. Like I said, I had 3 and I'm going to get some more so that I can be ready, and clothespins. I use the clothespins and I'm going to put that on there because I don't want the squirrel going over there because that traumatizes me. The squirrel traumatizes me. I did the video on the demon squirrel. The squirrel went from all my different containers like it was having some kind of breakdown. No. Let me see what I'm missing. Okay. Yeah, Jay. Tool is amazing. Gardening with Lisa. I'm zone 7B, Alabama, minus 15 degrees yesterday morning. Oh, yeah. Well, we can talk about the weather because I intended to talk about the weather at the end, but we just got so good into this gardening thing. For us here in upstate New York, I did the video on the weather. That thing was scary. Things are changing, y'all. This was a different kind of a thing for us. We don't have a lot of snow. Like, Buffalo, they got, I saw that on the news. That's terrible. I can still see my driveway. I can still see the grass. There was some snow, but the winds was, they said the wind was 69 miles per hour at the airport. And I don't live that far from the airport. That wind was hitting my house. Bam! That wind was hitting my house. And them trees and everything was just, and so there was some snow coming down. Not a lot, because they had not said we were going to get a lot of snow. But the snow was blowing. That wind was vicious. And it was bitter cold because it went from when I got up in the morning, the weather was in the 40s, and then it dropped drastically into single digits. And then with that wind, And that we had power outages. A lot of people lost power. Thank God I didn't lose power. I was concerned, even though I'm prepped and ready, but still, I did not want to lose power because the stress and everything that it puts on you. You can heat certain things, but you cannot be that comfortable as if you had your heat. So anyway, now I'm gonna look over here. Last time I looked, we was at 11 degrees. Let me see what we are now. So tomorrow it's going to be 22 degrees. And they say it's going to be 8 degrees warmer than today. So that's what it is now. But I tell you what, that wind ain't stopped. And with the wind, we was minus 21 degrees wind chill factor. How it was, and I'm telling you, I didn't even go to the mailbox because that wind, the way that wind was going, and I said, I'm not going, there's no mail out there that I have to get. I'm not walking to that mailbox. But anyway, let me see. So that's what it is for us weather-wise. If y'all want to get your zone, tell what your weather is right now, what situation you went through with the weather. A lot of people here really suffered with the power outages because it was so bitter cold. And then that was what it was, a bitter cold and no power. And see, some people have not prepped, they're not ready, they can't deal with it. And that's why if any way you can prep to have things, please do. Because these things, like they said, once in a lifetime storm. No, these things are going to continue to happen and it's going to be worse. I was watching the Alaska prepper, and he brought the map up to show the cold, and he was showing how that cold, how that whole thing was moving through not just the United States but across everything, and just showing how that thing was. It was massive. It was massive, and I'm telling you, these things. Just be ready because it's happening. It's happening. We're in it now. Okay, let's see. We got, hey, Sunday Backyard Farmer. Hello. Welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Jay said, good information about diet to Mrs. Earth. Yes. I used to not be able to say that word. I used to always say DT. Growing out the box. Okay. Speaking. Okay. People speaking. Elwanda, she said, okay, Cynthia, you convinced me to try it again. I do have some DT. Okay. Now follow my directions. I told you how to do it. Follow my directions. Cover the soil. You ain't got to put a lot on there, but just cover it where you can see it on there and make sure there's no spots that you done left that don't have it on it. And you can't like do one pot and don't do another one because then they're going to come in that pot and then you're going to have them. You have to do everything that you have, and you do it immediately after you plant your stuff and you watered it, bottom watered it. Then you put that on there because that makes it stick good on there. And I'm telling you, go look at my video if you think I'm kidding. I did not have not one fungus gnat, all them seedlings. Let's see here. Okay, so growing out the box, if you bake it at 250 for 20 minutes, I can promise you will have nothing living in that mix. Yes. He's talking to Elwanda. Yeah, I've been doing that. I'm telling you, that works. That hot water thing. Okay. Jay said, preach on climate change. Yeah, I'm telling you. Y'all don't be sleeping this thing. This ain't no joke. I have not worried. I always feel like I'm fighting the weather now. And the reason I talk about the wind, because here we didn't have this. This wind thing we did not have. Now we got winds all the time, high winds. And if you go out there and look at my video, removing the tool, some people watch that video, see how I was out there and how that wind was vicious in this past summer. Now we have different things. I can deal with the cold. We've been in the cold. I can deal with the snow. We've been having snow. But it's when all these things come together with this wind change, 69 miles an hour, bitter cold, ripping out people's power, people in the bitter cold with no power. Yes. And so you got to try to have something, even if you have somebody's house that you can go to. Yeah, you got a relative. You know, I had people I could go stay with. But what you going to do about your pipes? You know, my son said, well, Mama, you know, you can come over here and I can come get you and whatever. I said, yeah. But what about my pipes? See, I got to stay home, put some heat on this stuff, protect my stuff, because I get some water damage in here. The pipes busting and breaking inside your house and you somewhere else. You know what a disaster you're going to come back home to? So you got to be prepared. You got to be ready. You can't wait till it happens and then run out, try to get this, that, and the other. It's too late then. So I'm doing the best I can is accumulating. I'm prepping for emergencies, but I'm not going out there and getting it all at one time because I can't afford that. Like I said in my video, I couldn't afford to get the solar right now, but I have the gas generator, and it's both gas, gasoline, and propane. Either one of them I can use. But I showed people in that video, I put it up to the sky. I said, see, there's no sun. So what good is the solar going to do you? That don't work everywhere. So you got to have different choices. And I looked at one time, I had another video, a live I did, and there was a guy who was in, where was he at? He was in Florida and Jacksonville. And he had said to me, you need to get an alternate heating source. Because I said I had the generator, blah, blah, blah. And he said, and I thought about that. And I hadn't thought about that before. And so that's why I'm saying we are sharing valuable information here that can help not only the people in this chat, but people who are going to come look at this video later. Because I went out and got the kerosene heater. Because I said to myself, well, I could put, I got the generator, but you can only put so much on a generator. And I'm talking about if something extended, like say, for instance, 7 days. Say, for instance, 7 days, something happened, you lose power. Well, you got to be able to, sustain yourself and not have your pipes busting. So I'll be thinking about, okay, I'm going to put this on that I'll put the heater over here. I'll do this. I'll do that. You can go into a room. You can close the door. You can be warm in there. You got certain things. You got to, in your mind, walk through it. There are other people on here talking about this stuff. I don't get on here talking about this all the time, but I'm just telling you what I do. And I'm telling you, yesterday was an emergency situation here for us, and I was prepared. You can't be prepared for everything, no, but I was prepared as best I could be. So y'all do that. Y'all be prepared. Y'all prep your gardens, have your resources for when you can't use this. It's not available. When you can't use this, it's not available. Be ready. Be ready. So that's what I'm trying to do. Little by little, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm adding this, I'm trying that, I'm learning about this, I'm learning about that. That's the best way to do it. Because look at the prices. Okay, y'all, let me see if I missed anything. Yes, gardening with Lisa, she said, yes, the wind was something serious. It was fierce. I could hear the wind hitting my house. One point I was thinking, dog, what you got going on? Is it a tornado or something? I could hear the wind hitting my house. I mean, my house wasn't shaking, but I could just hear the force of it on it. And I looked out there at my trees and man, that's why you got to keep your garden healthy too. Keep your stuff healthy because it's got to deal with all this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, it was something serious. And Elwanda, I did that. Oh, she's talking to somebody else. Okay. Sunday backyard farmer. He's in the 20s in Atlanta. Okay. Elwanda got it. Okay. She's talking to somebody. Yes. Lynette, yes. Prepare as best you can for yourselves. Yes. Prepare as best you can. And if you have to take baby steps, it's better to take a baby step than not take a step at all. Maybe you can't do a big step. Maybe you can only do a baby step, but do that baby step because it will help you. You'll be one baby step forward toward whatever you need to do to protect yourself when the time comes. And we in it. Because what I was going to say earlier, and I don't think I finished it, I feel like I'm fighting the weather. I had to pay $500 and something last winter for the wind ripping the shingles off my roof. The wind ripping my front door off. Well, not off, but breaking it. The wind knocking down my arbors. The wind ain't no joke. These things are costing me big money. I didn't have this before. That puts a strain on your pocketbook. Yeah, and I have to go out there, like when I put out my little Christmas decorations or do something, I got to always think about the wind. I used to do fall decoration. I used to do a big fall thing outside my house. I didn't do that for the last 2 years because I said to myself, I did it one time and the wind was blowing stuff all over. Well, I was never doing that before. I never had to be concerned about putting out a little decor and the wind whipping the stuff and breaking it. I have things that have been broken. So now I have to think about that. Oh, no, you can't put that out there. And then when I did my little Christmas decoration, I had to put it right up close to the house because I'm not going to move it out to the yard because the wind. And I'm not going to be running out there in no 20-something, minus 20-something, trying to secure any type of decoration. I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm not going to put that out there for that to happen because I know how the wind is. And the thing about the wind is not like you can, like this storm here, they predicted we was going to have these real bad winds. But sometimes I can be doing something and there's no wind and then all of a sudden it just whips in. That's what's happening too. So anyway, let's see here. Yeah. Gardening with Lisa. March used to be our windy month. Last few years, winds are high every day. Yes. Sound like you are having the same kind of change that we are having. And I'll tell you something else that's strange that's happening now that never happened. We'll have, we used to snow and cold. We'll have snow come in, like say, for instance, you get a snowstorm. You get a snowstorm, and then you get torrential rains. We never had no torrential rains and snow together. Then you got stuff flooding. But it is crazy. I'm not talking about no little rain. It wasn't raining in the winter. We got rain and heavy rains in the winter. When did this start happening? This is what's going on. And if other people really pay attention to what's happening in their climate and the changes that's going on, they would notice stuff too. I see, Lisa, you're paying attention to what's going on in your area with your weather. You're paying attention to the differences, and I've been paying attention because I couldn't help but pay attention because I had to adjust. I had my apple tree in a pot, one of them big old pots blow over because it had apples on it, and luckily they were small, so I guess they was healthy because they didn't blow up, they didn't come off. And I had to take my tree, put it on the dolly, move it over to the cattle panel, and attach it to the cattle panel because otherwise it blew over twice. And I said after that, okay, you better move this tree because you're going to lose your fruit. And that's what I had to do. I never had to do that before. So it's so many changes because you have to adjust and adapt. That's what I say, adjust and adapt. What's happening, you need to adjust and adapt. Don't cry the blues. Don't be a baby. Adjust and adapt because that's what we're going to have to keep doing, adjusting and adapting to these changes that are going on, that's happening. I hate to say it, but that's the way it is. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Broke Farmer. Hey. How you doing? He said big facts. Yeah. So that's what I would tell people because I feel like crying the blues don't help you. You got to move beyond that and adjust and adapt. And I try to I was praying this time when they were talking about them high winds that I was thinking about last winter, paying $500 and something to pay to get that shingles put back up there. I was thinking, Lord, please don't let it happen this year. Don't let it happen to me. I haven't even recovered from that one. I was praying hard. And it didn't happen. Thank you, Lord. But the wind's still going out there, but it's not 69 miles an hour. Whew. Yeah. So I've been on here a minute, y'all, and I have enjoyed it so much. I've run my mouth. I've talked about gardening basics, which was my title, and I showed you the things that I was, wanting to talk about with that because I feel that's your foundation. You got to have a foundation because that's one of the things of adjusting and adapting, okay, that we have to do. Educate ourselves on stuff when things are not available. Educate yourself when you can't do this. Okay. That's what I wanted to get across. And I wanted to say, anybody that had any horrible things that happened to you, losing power or damage or whatever, I send prayers to you. And I pray that you would stay warm and safe because I know it's horrible. It's horrible. I've had it happen to me. I've had to pay big money for stuff. And I know that's no joke. And I know one thing I can always say, and I always say this to my son, things can always be worse. So I say that to myself, things can always be worse. So you think your situation is bad? I'll tell you a little story. It was like you in a room, everybody's around a table, and everybody can take their problems and put it on the table. And when you see everybody else's problems, you'll be fighting to get yours back. Just remember that. It can always be worse. So with that, I enjoyed this live, you guys. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, go ahead, give me the thumbs up. It won't hurt nothing. It'll help me. It'll help my channel. So what I wanted to say was I enjoyed this very much. I sort of slow down naturally in the evening. I'm more on top of things earlier. So, but I wanted to do a later live because, I realize that that's the better time for me to do it as far as getting people to come in. And this is why I'm doing it. I want to see you guys. I want to talk to you guys. So, just thank you so much. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed everything that growing out the box, all them good tips you gave. Elwanda, I'm looking forward to seeing how you do with your nets. Be blessed and have a Merry Christmas. Amen. You guys have a wonderful holiday. Have a Merry Christmas. And remember, if you are the type of person that believes in it, the reason for the season. Let me see if I can get this over here. I can't even get it to show up. Okay. The reason for the season. Okay. And gardeners, we special people. And I love you guys. And I shall see you next time. Okay? Bye-bye. I'm thinking I'm on my phone, y'all, trying to use my hand.